Hello, welcome back to the channel. And with us all being in lockdown, there's a little bit of extra time for different things, so I thought I'd make an extra video to go between my normal railway running sessions to give you an idea of what goes on between the times I make the videos, so behind the scenes if you like. If you haven't seen my videos before, I run a Super 4 layout which I'm still building, and I run engines all the way from 1950 up to the early 90s. They could be Hornby, Hornby 00, Triang, Wren, but mainly Triang. So anyway, I thought we'd have a quick look round this small workshop to see what's going on that's related to the railway. Now, if you have been watching my videos, you know I like to replate my Super 4 track. And I'd had a problem recently, my power supply failed. Now I hope you can see that LED is now glowing nicely, it's back up and running. This, fingers crossed, is now fully repaired. And it was just a simple dry joint on the rectifier circuit board. So I have taken a couple of pictures. The first picture, which I'll just put in now, shows you the extra heat conductive paste that I put on the back of the IC, just so I get a bit of better heat dissipation into the aluminium heatsink, because it does run quite hot when it's under load. And this second photo, that just shows the area of the circuit board that I cleaned up and reflowed the solder. It does get quite hot on the legs of the IC, so it's now fully working. So we're going to look at this a little bit later on in the boiler room of the house where I've got my plating tank set up. Now I'm just going to grab the camera now. Firstly, let's get down here. You might hear this noisy item. Well, this is my 3D printer, which I bought broken from a well-known auction site, and I was lucky to find it was an easy repair, because all the wiring is inside these plastic sheaths, and I suppose during the rigours of transportation the power pack banged heavily in the box into one of these sheaths, and even though it looked undamaged on the outside, it sliced through a couple of cables, so one of the stepper motors wasn't working, hence I managed to get it as a damaged printer. But now it's repaired, it's working really well. So we've got a little project on the go here, and these are sidewall supports. Now I've received a lot of help from another YouTuber who specialises in Triang and Triang Hornby. His previous Super 4 layout, a wonderful thing, has now been disassembled, and he's building a really large System 6 layout at the moment, and it's great to watch the development of that. But I'd like to thank him for helping me with the pattern for this item, which I think is going to be great for Super 4. I've struggled with the 3D design software, but with some help now I'm starting to get the hang of it, so I hope to produce my own items soon. I have produced a couple of simple items, but the more complicated ones I've just found difficult to draw out first. But anyway, let's just quickly look at the printer. You can see that the first few layers are down now, and it's printing away happily. Now this project takes about 23 minutes for each copy. The fan is now on 100% because the first few layers are down, and we've got the printer bed and the nozzle at a steady temperature. Now I did actually put a couple of additional MOSFET boards in this power supply, one for the heater nozzle for the heater extruder and one for the bed. It really helps with the maintaining of the temperature at a constant supply, and they heat up really quickly when you start to print, so it's a great mod if any of you are involved in 3D printing. Now some people have asked, have I got any reference material for my collection? Well, I haven't got many books, but here's a snapshot. This I can't recommend highly enough if you're a Triang or a Hornby fan. The great Pat Hammond who wrote the recent centenary book for Hornby, The Story of Rovex, a 3-part series. If you can get copies of those, fantastic if you're interested in Triang, Hornby, or Hornby up to about 1996, which is more or less my time frame. And that helps me get all the R numbers hopefully correct when I make my videos. Now I've got a book there that is another great reference for Hornby 00, and for my Wren I've got a thin book here from Binns Road to Basildon by Maurice Gunter, who was involved in the later stages of Wren. So that's been a really good reference guide for all my Wren locomotives, so I'm happy to read that, and I'd recommend it if you are interested in Wren. I do believe there's some new versions of this book now that are in, rather than being all in one book, that are split into 4 or 5 books. Also, I've got my small collection of Triang and Hornby track plans and catalogues, which I enjoy looking at too. Okay, well, let's have a look at some other stuff. What have we got now on the bench? Well, let's look at the preparations for next week's running session. 2 locos on the bench at the moment. We've got a R653 Bobo, which is something I've been working on for a few weeks now. It was in a terrible state, lots of bits missing, but I finally de-rusted the pantographs, got them back on the loco, got the body looking something like, and the actual motor bogie is running well, so we should see that in the next few weeks. But for next week's video I do hope to be running this. Now let's just see, I've got this really nice old Triang power pack here, so I'm going to give this a few volts. There we go. This is the R066 Duchess of Sutherland. Now this is probably, I would imagine, nearly my newest locomotive in the collection. I think it's from about 1978 or 79. I've been looking in this catalogue for the R number, and that's 1978. Now as you can see, it's running quite smoothly there. This is the only version of the Ringfield motor I've got that's got the totally plastic case, and I can see why some people would say it's a poor motor. I mean, it's all clipped together, and I think the clips would easily break if you were to try and prise them apart in anything other than a careful fashion. In fact, I've chickened out of trying to take it apart because I only needed to clean the commutator, which I was able to gain access to through a hole in the side. And as you can see, it's running really smoothly. Now I've got some new, last week on my video I was running an R550 9F, and I've got some out of shape traction tyres. Well, I've managed to get some better traction tyres now, and I have fitted them to the 9F, and it's made such a difference to the running, and I've put 2 onto this because this only has 2, but it's also made this a lot smoother. I think they go out of shape over the years, so I'd really recommend, if you're struggling with any of your tender drives, to just probably swap out the traction tyres, and the earlier ones, sort of like the Triang Black 5 or the Triang Hornby Evening Star or the 9F, they do have 6. Even the centre wheels have traction. Just turn this off. The centre wheels have them on. I normally just put 4 on, 2 on the front axle and 2 on the rear axle. I don't bother putting them on the centre wheels. They really grip fantastically with 4, so it makes your pack of traction tyres go that little bit further. So I've got the tender top there, a few bits of 3D printed stuff which I'm experimenting with, and here's my sole pack of sidewalls at the moment, which are hopefully going to fit the Super 4 track. Bit of track on the bench as well, set of points there that's being restored. Double straight there, double third radius curve, and maybe you can pick up that the points are the only ones that I've cleaned and refinished the base on, and it gives them a really good look. So you can imagine that once I get the rails back in, they're going to look quite nice. So if you look at my videos, my running sessions, you can see some of the plated track on the layout. Okay, have I got anything else to show you? Just one other item here, I think. I got something from our friends in the East, a little digital voltmeter and ammeter. Now, I thought it would be quite nice to have some information about current draw on my main lines. I know it's a DC layout, and it's good to see how much your motors are drawing, especially if you're attempting to double head. So this little very inexpensive mass-produced ammeter and voltmeter is something I'm going to try and connect into the layout. So I'm hoping it's going to look quite good and give us a lot of information. Now I have got another controller. I haven't got it to hand, it's in the other workshop, but I managed to pick up something by Gagemaster. Just excuse the clocks, they're all striking away. I'm in my clock mending workshop here, so there's many of them, and as it's coming up to an hour now, we're about to get them all striking. So yeah, I've got a Gagemaster controller which I'm hopefully going to be able to repair. It's water damaged, and the previous owner has, I think that could be about the last one, the previous owner has drilled out the pot rivets on the case and had a big good fiddle with it, so I'll maybe be able to share the work I get going with on that controller in a future video. But I thought these little digital readouts might look good to give us an idea of how much the locos are drawing on each of the main lines, so that'll be another thing. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Well, I think what we'll do now is probably get down to the boiler room in the house. I've managed to move my plating tank into the domestic boiler room, which is great really, because it's such a warm temperature there, because I've got a thermal store in there for water. It keeps the room really nice. It's a fantastic temperature for plating. So we'll get down there. We'll take this, let me just get this, it's still showing a nice red LED. We'll get that down and connect it in and set up a tank full of plating. So that's how we'll end this video. So we'll get there just now, so bear with me while I move the power pack and get set up in the boiler room. Well, apologies for the shadow and the camera, it's a little bit difficult in here. As you can see, it's a cramped boiler room. There's the underfloor heating there. That's primarily why it stays so nice and warm in here. So there's the tank set up. It's not leaking, I just spilt a little bit of distilled water topping it up. So as I say, I apologise for the shadow. Now I'm just going to get my last piece of rail and hook it in. So they're all hooked in there. The power pack is working, so I'm going to get down to my ammeter now and turn it on. Right, so immediately you can see this is drawing 0.71 of an amp. That's not too bad. So the power is working. I've got 6 pieces of rail in the tank. I've got inner and outer piece of the double third radius curve, and then the 4 pieces of rail of a left hand point. So we're going to see how this all turns out when we have our next running session, and I'll show you the rails after they've come out the tank. I am just going to take the temperature. Now we better be careful because Mrs. Snooze doesn't know I've got this. It's the meat thermometer, so let's just have a look and see. I want it to be about 25 degrees. Let's have a look. Sorry. It's a little bit cool. It's still going up. That's just the electrolyte I've found wants to be. Yeah, it's probably a little bit cooler because I've had the door open for a while, but I don't think it'll affect the plating. Well, thanks for watching this little video. Hopefully it's given you an idea of some of the items that are going on in the background. As much as I enjoy running the trains around the layout, there's many little jobs I have to keep doing to try and keep A, the layout running nicely, and B, growing. Hopefully with this tank working away again, I'll be able to get on with the locomotive service and storage yard. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Well, thanks for watching, and until the next video, I'll say goodbye.